To our top story, Amazon is dropping its plans to build new headquarters and bring 25,000 jobs to New York over protests like these. While big-name Democrats have hailed this as a triumph for the people, it's a move that's going to upset a lot of New Yorkers. A recent poll of registered voters in New York State showed that most people, take a look at this, 56% of people actually approved of the idea of Amazon making second headquarters in New York City. And there wasn't actually much of a difference between high-income and low-income voters as well. And the demographics who most strongly supported the deal, this is interesting, demographics who actually most supported this deal was Latinos and African Americans as well. Gregory Meeks represents part of Queens in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's joining us live now from Washington. So, Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. So just give us your reaction to the fact that, A, most African American and Latinos actually supported this deal, and B, the fact that New York City is going to lose out on 25,000 jobs.
Well, the reason why a lot of African Americans and I think Latinos want to will support the deal is here's a chance to have an opportunity to have jobs now and in the future that are not low-paying jobs, not minimum wage jobs, but jobs in which they can be trained. And these jobs, many of them are going to be $150,000 or more. You prepare them, and it gives them a chance to close the income gap that has existed in America for far too long. And the way that we were negotiating was to make sure that what was happening would be, as far as those jobs, would be very diverse, giving African Americans and Hispanics an opportunity to make sure that they were able to obtain those jobs, as well as investments in schools and education, because these are tech jobs. Secondly, the answer to your second question is that I'm trying to remember the second question. What was your second question?
Well, it was really just about, A, why African Americans supported this deal, and just the fact that we're going to lose out, or rather New York City is going to lose out on 25,000 jobs. But I do want to ask you, what does this deal actually say about just how divided the Democratic Party is? On the one hand, you have the likes of Bloomberg and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being on one side of the argument, but also Cuomo and de Blasio being on the other side. What does it tell you about the divisions within the Democratic Party?
Well, there's always divisions in a democracy, but I think that if you would look over the span of elected officials, you'll also find that most elected officials supported and wanted the deal. The borough president wanted the deal. I wanted the deal. It was actually in Carolyn Maloney's district. She wanted the deal. So I can go down and I can show you that there were more elected officials who wanted the deal than who didn't, and they were the ones that were trying to work quietly to work a deal out. My only disappointment in Amazon is that they didn't continue to stick at the table, because they would have had and would have been able to demonstrate they had more supporters than individuals that were against. And sometimes, you hear individuals that are talking loudly, they get, sometimes my father used to say, the greasy wheel gets the oil. Well, sometimes if you shout the most. But this was a deal that I think that, it was, some were complaining about the fact that there was $3 billion that was going to go out in subsidies as far as an incentive. But the way I look at it, it was, and I think that the governor said it best, this was basically a deal that $3 billion was going to be able to bring you back $27 billion. It was like a long-term investment that was going to make a significant difference for the district, for the city, for the state. And so I think it's a loss both for New York and for Amazon.
I mean, Congressman, I think a lot of people were quite surprised that Amazon didn't really stick at the negotiating table rather, and just sort of pulled the plug completely.